Hi, Zizaran here with another episode of Path of Exile University, and today we are going to be covering price checking. So how do you figure out what the item you have found is worth? And yeah, and alerts and everything is off for this. That is what we're going to talk about today. Let's see, do I still have excellent, still loads of tabs open. We're gonna need those. We were just finishing another one. So let's just grab some random items and then figure out what to search for. So I'm just gonna try giving a lot of examples for this episode because honestly I feel like that's the best way to learn. Um, Price checking honestly is very difficult in Path of Exile, and it's not something I feel like I've ever really wanted to make a proper guide for because it's so item specific. It's honestly the hardest thing in Path of Exile. How much are my items worth? And there is never going to be a simple guide that will be up to date for this, I think. But we can start helping teaching people. So let's look at let's go find a decent item in my stash. Something that actually is. What about special gear? Let's see. Actually, let's go look on some of my characters and check some of the. You underpriced check just ask Mathel. Hey, Dup. Let's see. I might have some of these characters. They could be medium. Will this be on the test? Oh, this actually doesn't even have gear. But we're gonna be giving loads of examples, and the class will be around 40-45 minutes. Okay. All right. Let's look at the shield here. Right, it's 300 energy shield, pretty respectable. Let's say that I found it like this. What are the important things to look at? Well, first let's just we can open it up and put it in either Notepad if you prefer that for whatever reason, or more importantly, you can put it straight into Path of Building just by Control Ving. And then you can look and edit and see what are the important things here, right? What are people going to actually look for and be interested in buying, right? Because if we put all of this in, probably gonna be very few. So let's actually put all of it in, and we'll go look at the difference. Let's see. So we're gonna look at harvest just to make it easier, and I'll move this up here just so I can see the mods easier. So it has. Let's see. Actually, we can just put that here. It has 300 energy shield. And then there is a big, on some it's more or less obvious than others, but a very big mistake that a lot of new players do is that they will put in literally every stat because they aren't sure what's good, especially if the mana regen was let's say 50 instead of 13, right? You'll see a lot of people might be putting in the mana regen rate. So let's say say my shield has 50 mana regen, and then it has 43% lightning rest. Sorry, lightning rest. And people are always very specific, and some new players you've even seen putting in thorns. But let's say instead of thorns that the shield had life, right? That's the stat. So you're ooh, really good hybrid shield. Thorns is obviously thorns and mana regen is obviously the easier stats to identify that aren't good. But part of what I want to talk about now is how important it is to not be too specific or hung up. That's not, because it has. It already has 3 prefixes. This wouldn't be 4, because I'm instead of thorns, I'm doing life. Anyway, but yeah, people very easily get hung up on bad prefixes, and people always will search for sometimes equal to or more than their shield. So the one we found was 323. So sometimes you'd have people searching for that, right? And let's look in harvest. Why is there none? Oh, because shield can't get that much mana regen. Is that not it? Wait, oh, it's the wrong. Life roll? No, I don't get it. Oh, there's just no... Okay, there are no shields. Hybrid. That sucks. Can't get 300 ES with mana regen and life? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You 100% can. Because this has mana regen. It only has 2 energy shield prefixes. And then... So yes, you can. You 100%... That can exist. It's just like non-listed. But that's annoying. Anyway, let's see. Either way, like, more importantly, like a dead stat, but like the more specific you are, the worse you're gonna get. So even without that, it's showing 6 results, right? Which could lead a lot of new players to be like, wow, there's so few for sale, and the cheapest is 100C. Now, some things to note, like this is more energy shield than ours. The mana regen's a dead stat. It's also kind of overpriced. But, and then this one has 2 resist, ours only has 1. So what you want to be is, you want to be like less specific than yours. So just, well, I don't care about the mana regen. And if you really want to search for the resist, first I would try to get an idea how much it has without the lightning resist. And then if I really was going to search, like, okay, well, I feel like resist is really important to the price of this item. I definitely would never care about it being lightning. So something we just showed the audience in the last episode was pseudo res. So also I would always search for slightly less than is on your item. So this has 43. Let's search for 38 and pseudo res. And I would also search for like slightly less energy shield than is on my item as an example, right? Then you see that, oh, okay, well, it's not really that rare then, is it? So here you see, and this shield would obviously have over 300 with quality on it. It has res, and it's just 5C. Is there any resource to tell how much ES, armor, etc. per equipment is good? No, not really. Build guides will generally tell you, though. So part of this is like just knowing like what stats are useless, what aren't. Because it does get hard. Like you do have like, and I'll try to give more and more examples with useless stats and stuff. Hopefully we'll go through several, but obviously like the reflect physical damage, that's useless. Life regen, like flat life regen, that's useless. Mana regen can sometimes be useful, but for most people generally solve mana issues in other ways than percentage mana regen. That also can mean that is a valuable stat sometimes to the right customer, but I would say like the main thing to think about is like price it for the most likely customer. What is like the most popular going to be to sell? So even though with the other search, when we were being more specific, there was only 6 searches. When we're a little bit less specific, it's 1,374. Yeah, Cremona. So that was like one example there that we could go over. Look a little bit at other things. Let's see, what are some actually good things? Okay, let's make up a ring. Let's make up a ring that we're searching for. Let's see. Sometimes things will be good in general, like they'll be good stats, but they won't be good for... Let's see, what are we gonna do? Here, let me just like have it up here so I can see it easier. Let's make a search for example, an unset ring with plus gems, because they can be expensive. Socket gems. Where is it? Say that it has our ring has +2, and it has strength. It has 45 strength. Our ring has fire rest. Whoops, wrong one. It has fire rest, and it has cold rest. And it does have another good stat too. It has physical damage, 2 attacks, and I think that's... I guess we'll just not use pseudo modes for this, but it has physical damage, 2 attacks. It's another prefix that could be good. Oh, it would have life. That'd be the other prefix. let's say that these are the stats of a ring, right? This is a very likely find, and it could actually be a good one. Eye level matters for pricing your items too. Not really. Not unless you think that somebody is going to recraft them or exalt the item. For a lot of it, it does not matter. Do you have a script or is just the random shit you make up on the go? Random shit I make up on the go. I don't have much time, but I want to like help teach as much as possible. So if you then search for the item and you don't get anything back, a lot of people, there's several things that'll happen when you don't get anything back. A lot of the time, you'll go... Oh, shit. Okay, but anyway, if there's still nothing. Is there anything else I forgot? There are some things that'll happen. Some people... Wrong life mod? No, it isn't. Plus... No. He's right. I've already taken out the ES. Yeah, that's fine. It's an explicit. There's just like... There's not that much for sale at the moment anyway. +2 socketed gems ring. Yeah, that works. I mean, it's rare. There's none for sale, but you can get plus gems unset rings. But anyway, we'll go back to explaining. So there's a couple of things that can happen when players don't find anything for their item. They can go... they have no idea at all what to price it for, or my item is priceless, and they'll list it for 20x and they'll never get an offer for that item. Sometimes they'll get a player being completely reasonable, being like, I see you have an item listed here for 20x. I'll offer you 25 chaos for it, which might be completely reasonable, but because the player has listed it at 20x, yeah, they'll be like, no, fuck you, lowballer. So obviously, like, socketed gems is fairly rare, and getting rings with that is very rare. This is very good for people doing like aura builds, some minions, or like animate guardian and things like that. So like this goes up to +3, and getting rings with that is rare. Now, something that is like for the builds that value the socketed gems, then the physical damage to attacks would a lot of the time not matter. So you can like, you could remove that, and you could have like other like elemental mods or elemental damage with attacks. Like sometimes you'll get an item that might have amazing mods, but 3 of them are for casters and 3 of them are for spellcasters. And they don't really mix well together. So let's see if we find anything with just removing that. There's like nothing for sale. What is Dead League? Let's try to be even less specific then. So we're going to remove the resist. And then we're going to go back to our pseudo res. And we're also going to lower it. So ours had 80. We're going to have 60 for this. And now we're actually starting to find things. Right? And then you see that we're being less specific. This is less specific. Like our ring is better than this. And this is listed for 1.5x. That does start giving you some idea. Right? It is very hard to figure out exactly how much good items are worth. I remember very early on, I would message and pester Gorotha a lot. Like this is... That's like... Wait, that's like basically the ring I made up. Just slightly lower lightning. That's the ring I fake made up. That's like, that's it. That's the fake ring. But it's a real ring. So like this is obviously a very, very good ring, right? And if this had like, you know, like elemental damage with attacks or flat physical damage, quite a lot of like spellcasters wouldn't be interested in that. And obviously this guy is listed it for 7x. It kind of is worth that much. Maybe not in Harvest, but on Hardcore, maybe. This is listed too high. This is probably, I would say, worth like, I would have tried like 2 or 3x for this because it is insanely nice. But, you know, you do have to get, you do have to sell it, right? This never sold. 2 months ago, 7x, it never sold. The 46 strength is pretty nice. Yeah, it's a very, very nice ring. And the hardest thing about Path of Exile is figuring out exactly how much your item is worth. Especially on like what makes it... Something I want to try to cover in this is what makes the difference between an item being worth like 30C and 30x. Like, because sometimes new players, I've had new players. Let's do a little bit of a quick flex actually, as an example. because I do think it's a good example, even though it is also a flex. But the most excited I've ever been was Torment Rend, right? Which was at the time the best axe in the game. But I unironically had a lot of people ask, why is this axe good? Right? So to people that have played like a couple hundred hours, this is obviously like, oh, Craigasm, right? But to new players, they're still going to be like, but what makes it so special? So like, what I want to try to cover is what takes an item from that threshold of like 30 chaos to 30x. Because it's not always super obvious. It's not always super obvious what makes that. It can look, items that are that expensive could like not be very different from items that are 30 to 50 chaos. So like, yeah. So I'll try to cover that too. Undisputed. So yeah, this is obviously a very, very nice ring. And let's go back on Trade League. Not Trade League, but the thing is dirty. It was. It's beautiful. So what made the axe nice? So with that axe in particular, actually, sure, I can explain a little bit more too about that. I forgot I wasn't exaggerating when like new players actually can't tell, because it like this is something to an experienced player seems like super obvious. So we talked about how physical mods in the first episode of today, how like you want multiple of them. So with this axe in particular, it has the tier 1 flaring, it has tier 1 merciless. Those two together already are just insanely good. On top of that, it has a suffix mod with an additional 49% physical damage. You can see that it's just stacking loads of physical damage. They all affect each other. The only bad thing about this is it has Reaver, which is a tier 6 mod. I did try to remove that. And then it has tier 2 attack speed. It's got quality. It's a 600 PDPS 100. I think it's 600. I always forget. Why does... I'm trying to do calculator. I hate Windows. Oh, sorry. It's nearly 700. 699 PDPS. Which is like, normally for a build, you would like hope to get like 350, maybe 400 one. Yeah, I don't use Bing. It's just like, it's Windows. But yeah, so just the sheer amount of damage on this is what makes it good. But we can actually, it's a good example. Hold on. Let me open trade again in a sec. Because you'll see that the flashbang, the scaling on prices in Path of Exile is a little bit. Let me make it girthier. The price scaling is a little bit. I always forget the word for this, but it's a little bit like that. There's a word for it. Exponential. Thank you. The pricing is a little exponential. So like, something that's like here could be barely better than here, but like here could be like 50x, and this could be like 7, and then you could have like, you know, decent items are here at like 1 to 2x, right? And then you have like your budget items are like in this bracket, so like minus 1x. So like this is like sub 1x. I would say like this is like a pretty good indication, like, because there really is several items where you're not really getting like a crazy bang for your buck, but like, and you see the difference here in price is insane. So let's go look at that in practice a little bit. Let's look at that a little bit in practice. Let's look at axis. We'll look at two-handed axis. And then let's take a look at different like DPS filters here. Where on earth are they? Oh, I'm an idiot. That's why. So physical DPS, that's the stat we care about here in particular. That's worth covering as well, actually. How did you calculate the damage of the axe? If you want to calculate it manually, you do the low end DPS plus the high end, divide by 2, and multiply the attack speed, it's even easier to just copy paste it into Path of Building. And Path of Building will tell you instead. So for example, for my weapon here, not that the PDPS matters, but if I put this into Path of Building, just like Control C on the item, Control V in Path of Building, and I put it in here, I can see that this is 69 PDPS, and POB will tell it for you. But you can calculate it manually if you really want to. Nice. So let's start here with two-handed axes, and the only thing we care about nothing else. We're not going to add any stat filters. The only thing we care about now is showing that exponential curve. So we're going to start at 600 physical DPS. And this is very, very different than 600 damage. We'll show both. Well, actually, we'll search and then show both. Let's search for like that. Right? Then... They're for like mirror fee or something? Yeah, it might be too low. Even like disfavors are like starting at 2C. I mean, melee is like not the best example for this just because the league, but let me like do a separate thing here at the same time. 200 axis, 200 axe, and then we're gonna search for 600 damage. Actually, let's do 700. It'll probably be easier. Just show my point. 700 DPS. Then we're starting to get respectable. Now we're up to 50 chaos. Right? That's fine. 50, 75 chaos. Decent. Now, watch this. Some players will start calculating the elemental damage and stuff like that and actually care about that part of it. Like, this is a garbage axe. This one has 700 PDPS. This one has 700 DPS. This is a garbage axe. Nobody's going to buy or use this. Right? But that, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think like that's something that could be like pretty confusing to a new player. So just like the sheer difference there in PDPS, so physical DPS versus elemental damage and like everything total combined. And the reason why it is like that is because you're not scaling multiple sources. You're not getting, like you might have 480% increased physical damage on your tree, but you don't have, if you had 480 damage increased on your tree, then like maybe we're talking, but you know, the fact that the damage is so spread out, that's part of why that's important. And we'll see that like continue, that trend continues. So 700 DPS, that's still very affordable. Let's now move to 750, and then we were in the 50 to 75 chaos range. Now we're gonna increase it by 50, and you can see that we're already on 1 exalt now. Can somebody give me a quick exalt to chaos conversion on harvest, because I don't play harvest trade league? But I think that is a 170 or so. So that's over doubled in price. It's over doubled in price. Oh, 130. Okay, so let's say it's doubled in price just from that small increase. 50 DPS. And then also, let's look at the trend here on the any DPS. Like, not really gonna change here. Here went like, well, it did go up 4 times, but you know, still like it's 750, and this is again a trash weapon. No one's gonna buy this. The fact that he wasted that to craft, it's not good. Anyway, so we're gonna continue here. We're gonna move it up to 800. Now we're getting up some big dick damage weapons here. Now we're up to 2 exalts for the cheapest one, and 3x for one right below it. So now we're at 2 or 3x for these with a 820 and 830. And now let's look at the massive jump from 800. We're going to go straight to 900. Check this out. We went from 3x to 6. I actually thought it would be a higher jump, but it's softcore. But like now it doubled in price again. There will be a big jump soon. That's what I want to show. I haven't searched that much on softcore. Kill me. Okay, let's look at 1000 then. We'll see one more jump again. Ooh. It's 5-link and corrupted. Oh, you're right. It is a corrupted 5-link. This is a 6-link though. That one's actually kind of cheap. Let's look at 1000, because now we're getting very, very high. And now there's the jump. Like now it jumped 3 times. Right? Like now they're starting to get very, very expensive here. Now they're starting to be very, very expensive. So once you start going, and there's still a lot for sale, right? This is obtainable. Well, this is like before harvest and in maybe heist, not that obtainable, but in harvest, there's 250. Let's go even higher. Let's go one more. We're going to go to 1,100. What was the exalt here? 18x. Now it's jumped double again, right? So it's just like, it's zooming up. It's zooming up. This one isn't even 6 linked. Actually trash. And see, like, this is 1,100, 42, 50, 60. This is also the same DPS as the first one. There's barely any. And I think if we go to 1,200, there's barely going to be any for sale here. Now we're at 115 exalts. There's only 18 for sale. And the highest number that is listed, which is probably going to be mirror service. Yeah, this is mirror service, mirror service. Like, you're only getting like the crazy stuff here, right? No, this is price checking, and right now we're talking about, this is not bargain shopping. Bargain shopping was 1 hour ago. Right, let's see. Now, let's go back to the elemental one just to show like a big difference here. 1,100 DPS. That is still like, now we're actually talking about usable weapons. Why is it not showing any? Oh, I guess it can't be that high just because either it's... Wait. Eh. No, not today, Romantin. Oh. Is it just on PoE? Weird. Make it max? No, that shouldn't matter. That's flat damage ignoring attack speed. Oh. That's weird. Okay, well in PoE Trade, on the normal PoE Trade website, before this came along, you could search for like combined DPS. There is no reason to do that. Oh, just damage per second. Sweet. Excellent. Thank you. So let's look at damage per second, 1,100. No, that's still like doing really high. Oh yeah, because it can't really be elemental involved, I think, at the high level. Okay, there, at 1,000. Here you see an actually usable elemental weapon, which there are far and few between. This is never worth 8x, by the way. But here's an example, right? This is a little bit of fist damage, high lightning, cold. This does have 1,049 DPS, 370, 700 elemental. It's actually a kind of... Maybe you could use an anime guardian. It's never going to sell for 8x. It's never going to sell for anything. Why would you use elemental weapons instead of converting fizz? You wouldn't, basically. Conversion and added as extra is so strong right now. What is like the highest? Now I'm like curious while we're doing this. What's the highest DPS you can get? Yeah, it's just fizz ones. It is just fizz ones. But yeah. So that talks a little bit about like the exponential ones, and as a player, like try not to get hooked on the DPS, like the combined one, being high. Like the P DPS on weapons like this is all you care about. You're realistically not, with like very, very few cases, ever gonna care about the E DPS. So that's important to talk about there. Let's talk a little bit about other things. I want to find some like more example of dead mods that like players search for too much. I wish I had like a good example, but I haven't like gotten like things ready too much. Sometimes, like actually, one good example that sells quite a lot is stat rings. Let's see if I have one. Sure, that'll work. Let's go search for that. This is actually easier to sell on hardcore, I would say, because on softcore you do have a lot more things for sale. Let's search for a ring with life. It's a really nice life ring. And we've found a ring with 50 dex and 50 strength. Maybe? 50 strength, 50 strength, and it has some form of resistance. It's gotta resist. See if that even exists. When you get like really like the only reason I like bother bringing this up is because they can actually sell really high once you're getting into the actual high numbers. This is generally not like I'd say like stats aren't influencing the price a lot when they're in like the 20 to 40 range, but once you start getting like 50 to what's the actual highest one you can get with either essence and tier 1 roll, is it 58? Where's the Yeah, 58. Once you start getting up to like the tier 1 rolls and like really high, once you do get into like that amount of stats, or I think it's 55 for tier 1 and then 58 for essence, then stats like that do actually start to matter a lot in the price. There are a couple of reasons for that. They are very strong stat stacking builds. You have strength, dex, and int stackers, and that's a little bit league by league for which one is popular. There's been a lot of leagues where int has been insanely popular for like hand of wisdom and action builds. My character on the wand build there has like an int stacking build. So try a little bit to like check if like those high stat items are popular, because that is an area where new players miss out on a lot of currency simply by not listing it. And deck stacking as well has also been popular in several leagues. That starts to exponentially scale in just the 50 to 58 bracket, because the people that are running those builds will be so desperate for like any amount of stats they can get. And the other reason for why these are worth so much is because new players don't know it. And you have such a huge portion of the player base that are maybe not picking up and selling. They're not selling mana items. They're not selling stat items. Because a lot of guys will just be like, oh yeah, life and resist. And they'll be like, oh, fuck, I guess life and resist, right? And same with like stats on a jewel. I remember Embu had a jewel that I think it just had a like life, 2 damage mods, and then it had 16 dex. And I think he sold it for like 3 or 4x just because somebody really needed that 16 dex to save 2 skill points or something. So like stats can be really important either on jewels as like a filler stat. They like something like that. You just need one guy to buy it sometimes as well. So those are some of the items that are like, even if they don't sell, they're only taking up 1 slot. And if you do get some good offers for it, then sell it. Same with rings as well. I've had several offers for like strength and int rings or dex and int rings for people that maybe they're running a stat stacking build, but they also needed to fix some stats to wear something. Yeah, they're not always next to 30 dex, Amnes. Yeah, we actually don't have a crazy amount of time left, but I'll cover as much as I can. Influence items as well can skyrocket the price, especially based on item level. When mana gets valuable in jewelry, pretty much always. I'd say right now, like, well, okay, like at like 50 plus mana, but like mana the past 2 leagues is very popular as a stat. How do we link items when receiving offers? Control Alt click, so like, and then you could change like at Zizaran. Yeah, we're not talking too much about uniques. They're like easier. But yeah, item level is very important for various things. Let's look at titanium spirit shields, for example, right? Actually, no, that's not a good example. Let's look at amulets. Amulets is a great example. So now we're looking at amulets. Now we're looking at let's look at the influence hunter, right? An 81 amulet and 82 will have an insane price difference. Let's go show that price difference real quick if I can find it. I'm not 100% sure what to expect when doing these because it is Hunter Influence, yes, because it's softcore. Item level 81. Amulet. And this is also going to be different based on the time of the league. Early, the difference will be a lot bigger here. So I'm not 100% sure what to expect now because of Harvest. But let's look at Amulet, item level 81, Hunter Amulet, right? It's probably very, very common right now. And you can basically pick one up for free. These are Hunter influenced, right? Wait, I don't even see if they're Hunter influenced. Didn't I click Hunter influenced? Yeah, Hunter influenced, yes. Oh, shit. There, sorry. There, item level 81. Doesn't really show me that it's Hunter influenced anywhere. Oh, there. Thank you. Anyway, so like these are very, very cheap. Let's see if the difference is any big at the moment. I know it will be like early in the league. Right. So it's not a big difference right now, but early in the league, that will be a very, very big difference. Actually, it is even now. Like all the other ones are basically free. This is like kind of important, and I'm gonna show you guys real quick as well. So say that you need. Sometimes you can get iron rings. This what I'm about to show you is gonna work on iron rings or any amulet. Search 85. Well, I mean, I'd say like the big threshold difference here is at 82 because of the gem levels. But like there are things that like jump up in levels. Most of those are bad bases, yeah. But PoE amulets, gold amulets, iron rings. Sometimes you can buy influence items for this very, very cheap. So let's say that this is an Elder PoE amulet, right? And it's listed for 3C, and you need that. But an Onyx amulet is like 40C, and you don't want to pay 40C because you can just make your own Onyx amulet. Boom. So if this was a PoE amulet, you can turn it into an Onyx amulet with a red, green, and a blue gem. And this you can do. Like, there's a lot of things you can do with this. Like, you can uncorrupt the amulet. I don't have a... Oh, I do have a Valor. It's like, oh no, it's corrupted. This is good where if you find a bad base yourself too, before you want to craft. Where's red gem? There, so it'll uncorrupt it too. And the item level stays the same. And there's another thing as well. This is actually forgotten about. Like, a lot of people do know about that recipe. A lot of people forget about another one. So, if this was influenced, a lot of people will be like, oh, it's a fucking iron ring, dude. Why didn't I get a topaz ring? Oh, you want a topaz ring, bro? You want an influenced topaz ring? Because that'll keep the influence base. It'll keep the influence base. So sometimes you can buy an iron ring for like 3C. Sometimes there'll be corrupted ones listed. Just fucking buy it and make a ruby or like whatever you want. This you can only do once, obviously, because you can't like do anything else with a sapphire ring. Sometimes what I've done myself as well, if I'm really, really spicy, I think there's a few good ring corruptions right now, is I would craft like a mediocre, like say I try to make like a curse on hit ring, right, on this iron ring. I don't know if I have any influence iron ring so I could show. But let's say that I get like any useful stat. Let's say for some reason I really wanted the Herald of Ash, right? And I was like, oh, do I not have a Valor? That's so sad. Okay, but then I would vol it and hope to get a good implicit. And then if it doesn't get a good implicit, I even though it's vol, I'll just like switch it into a sapphire ring and then craft more on it. Because then you can like risk free. Yes, this only works on iron rings. But that's like a nice like cheap trick you can use there, and can be useful while price checking that a lot of people don't know about. Yeah, you can do Valor recipe too. What else? But yeah, there's the influences. Honestly, I feel like I think next course, next lesson, no, whatever, next like league that we do this, I think I'll try to do a 3 or 4 hour price tag session, which is going to be hell for me. But I think I'm just going to line up a lot of examples. Because I think it's like very, very hard to do this. Yeah, this is not my hideout. But like it's important to think about item level. It's important to think about influence. And the main takeaway from this is play around with removing some of the stats on items you're pricing. Like don't be too obsessed about every stat, because sometimes it won't be that important. What's going to be your play with me this weekend? I don't know. It might be like volatile dead spell thing or something. It's honestly not that important because for the play with me or the everything explained that we're doing later, we don't know what's getting buffed or nerfed. So I'm just going to play a build that I personally think is fun, even if it's something that might get nerfed, and just be very generic with the advice. I don't know what that is, fuck there. But yeah, I'll try to do a little bit more help content for price taking. Even because I know that price taking is something that a lot of people struggle with. Even though we weren't able to cover that much, I hope in the 45 minutes that we had that there was like some things that were learned and some good examples, and maybe like hopefully some people will now have a better approach to pricing their items. But I think we're gonna end it here. And yeah, if you like these episodes, a good way to support them is just subbing to the channel. So thanks for watching. Try to die less than I do.